Claude Giroux moves on in, and he scores! He's gonna learn today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Pod Street Bullies. Folks, my name is Derek.
And I am John. What's going on, everybody?
Guys, it's the Doldrums. It is the off-season right now, and there really isn't a ton to touch on. Free agency kicked off last week, and a few signings that we honestly touched on last week, so it's old news now.
Right. Sports suck right now.
Yeah, NBA's gone, which, frankly, I don't care.
Right.
NFL, starting with some training camp OTAs, stuff like that. Baseball's in high gear, which, if you're a fan of baseball, that's great, but...
Yeah, but when you're a Met fan or an Oriole fan, it ain't fun.
Yeah, baseball sucks for the both of us right now.
Hey, but hats off to the women's U.S. team today, huh?
Took the words right out of my mouth. Congratulations to the U.S. women's national team. Champs, baby.
Yeah,
Again.
I watched soccer. That was the second time in a week, 2 weeks? A week, right? I watched the England game. I like watching the women's game more than the men's game.
Well, they're better. I hate to say it, but they're just better.
Yeah, before we get going, I think the scariest people in sports have to be the referees of women's soccer games. Like, they're no joke, man. When they give penalties or whatever cards, whatever they do, they're just like, don't you argue with me. I will put your ass in the ground. It's intense stuff.
It reminds me of my wife.
I have no comment.
But also, today is a significant day in history because 23 years ago today, one of the greatest factions in all of any type of sport or sporting entertainment created. Do you know what I'm talking? The NWO.
Nice.
Too sweet, baby.
I mean, the NWO was good, and then it helped ruin things.
Everybody, it was too many people. Too many little sub-factions and this and that.
Everybody was in the NWO at that point.
Like, my dad actually was in the NWO, too. I didn't tell you that. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But he probably could have been.
I maybe thought there was, like, some union. It was like, I don't know, Nitro Welding Organization or something.
My dad's not even a welder.
Well, maybe he's a nitro welder.
Maybe. I don't know. He's been hiding that from me for 28 years.
Yeah, I don't know what a nitro welder is, but...
Neither do I. I know what a nitro tap is, though. That was pretty good.
Well, maybe talk to your dad about it and then let me know.
We'll touch on that next episode. But anyways, folks, today starts off a series of episodes where we're going to touch on the forwards now and what they're going to look like, the defensemen and what they're going to look like, and then goalies as well. We're going to touch on the best goalies of all time, defensemen, and it's just going to keep going because really... this is how we're going to kind of keep things interesting during the offseason. So today we're going to start with the forwards on the roster and some of the prospects that may be looking to break through onto the NHL roster as well.
For sure.
So yeah, I guess if we're going to get right to it, man, we got to start
Let's get to it.
We got to start with the big man Claude Giroux.
Claude Giroux.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should preface this as well, saying we're going to touch on special teams units as well, power play, penalty kill. Where these guys belong, kind of mock up our four lines here as well.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to start on it? Because, I mean, I think he's just going to probably get traded, right?
You shut your mouth right now.
Oh, I love it. Like, I'm obviously kidding, but every time I get to do it, because it just gets under your skin. It's beautiful.
I hate that I let you get to me like that. I really do. But we all know, I mean, aside from Couturier, the team revolves around Claude Giroux. He's our guy. He's our captain. Top line guy, correct?
Oh, yeah. Top line winger, for sure. I mean, I kind of hope he doesn't have to play center at all this year. At this point in his career, he should definitely be on the wing. I think that's where he's going to succeed the most.
Yeah, and with the acquisition of Kevin Hayes and signing him as well, I really don't think that moving Giroux back to center would benefit this team really at all.
Right. I mean, and when it comes to special teams, power play guy, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it says right here, excuse me, I apologize. last year, out of his 85 points, 23 of them came on the power play. So that right there, his office is right there to the right of the goalie. I mean, right at the dot, man. He sets up there. It's damn near as lethal as Ovechkin is there.
How many goals did he have last year, just in general?
In general, he had 22 goals, and 2 of them came on the power play.
All right, yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more this year. I got to see some scoring, Claude.
Yeah, I mean, and he's never been, like, the premier goal scorer for the Flyers, but, like, you see it. He could score at will if he wants to, but it's evident by the 63 assists that he put up last year. The guy's an assist machine.
Yeah, and I also wonder, too, if part of it is, like, he's looking to set other guys up, too. Like, that's kind of his mentality. It would just, I mean, I'd like to see him score more goals. What is his high? Do you have that on you?
His
Probably
high
the year before in goals?
His high in goals, I'm not really sure. I know last year it was his high in points, if I'm not mistaken, because I was there at the last game of the year when he had that hat trick to put him over 100 points. Which was,
nice.
It was incredible. I mean, just being there up in the press box watching that. His career high for goals is 34 last year. You're correct.
Yeah, see, I'd love to get that out of him. I'll settle for 30.
Oh, absolutely. 30 goals and then 60-something assists. He's consistently putting up 60. I mean, you look at this past year, he had 63, 68 the year before, only had 44 the year before that. It dipped a little bit, but, he's consistently putting up, 70, 80-point seasons typically.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole thing is, too, like, and we'll probably go into this a little deeper later on, but, like, we didn't really go out and grab, like, that goal-scoring winger. So we really need him to put in his fair share of goals,
Yeah, I mean, we're not bringing in a guy like Panarin, as much as it would have been great to bring him in, but, we got our own guys to sign.
So power play, we know he can play the PK. I don't want him to, though.
No, there's other guys that can slot into that role. Save him for the power play and the regular top line minutes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, is there anything else that you want to see from him this coming season that maybe we didn't see last year?
I mean, aside from a little more point production, he still put up 85 points, slightly over a point per game. But people will complain and say he's not a great leader, but everybody's a leader in their own type of way, and I like the way Giroux leads. He seems to get people fired up, holding them accountable, making sure that they're at their best every shift of every game. And, you might not see it all the time on TV, but that's because you're not seeing the locker room. You're not seeing him interacting with those guys. So there's not a ton more we could ask from Claude Giroux, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think this team in general, leadership was just something we didn't really see a lot of. Like you said, in our face. We don't know what was going on behind the scenes. I think from him, I'd kind of like to see it more on camera. Be that guy who's not afraid to kind of call out his players or to light a spark on camera for everybody to see. Not saying he doesn't do it, but if I were to nitpick and find one thing, that would be it.
And that makes sense. You'd like to see that he's a good leader. It's got to be evident in the public eye as well for people to really buy into the fact that he is. Not everybody gets to see these guys behind the camera and, what they do behind the scenes, but I really think that he could definitely take the next step. He's 31 years old, but he's not really showing any signs of regression, in my opinion.
Well, no, I mean, not last season, the season prior was his best season. So yeah. Let's see. I mean, I'm hoping for a big year from him.
Oh, for sure. I think he can definitely average another point per game year here, especially with some added firepower that they added with Kevin Hayes. And, we'll see. I think the move to wing really, I shouldn't say rejuvenated his career, but kind of prolonged it.
I would go with rejuvenating it, for sure.
Yeah, you could say it. He did split time a little bit at center last year. Not this past year, but the year before. But, only really when necessary, and I think that's a better move.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
moving on to the next guy. Everybody knows him. He's Gritty's stepchild, it looks like, really. Jake Voracek. He's already got me blocked on Twitter, so what do I care? we all know what we're getting with Voracek. He's another one of those guys that he likes to set up the play. 46 assists last year, 14 of them coming on the power play. And, this is really, like you were saying with Giroux, you'd like to see him score more. This is the guy I want to see score more because he's so capable and he's so good at it.
It's funny. I'm actually looking at his numbers right now. So he scored 20 goals last year.
Yep.
His career high is 23.
It shocks me because you see some of his goals and it's like, this guy should shoot the puck every time he gets it,
Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, so for me, he's got to be on the second line. You can't have him and Giroux on the same line because it's just going to be people passing it to each other the entire time.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think there's better options and that are better suited for a different type of role on the first line. We can't have two guys on the same line that do the same thing.
Right. I mean, he's definitely top line quality. He just doesn't fit our top line.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can spread the wealth
for sure
throughout that lineup, and it's a luxury to have a guy like Voracek on the second line.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think power play wise, honestly, I mean, because we're typically going with one defenseman on the power play, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
If we're going one defenseman, I wouldn't see why a guy like Voracek couldn't get top power play unit minutes.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I mean, I almost don't know where you would go that's a better option on your top power play.
Yeah, he fits the bill. I mean, the passing, because you want to be able to move the puck around. You want to be able to deceive the goalie a bit and just kind of keep him moving around and get him out of position. Voracek and Giroux together, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, power play 1 and line 2, Jake Voracek. Next on the list, newcomer Kevin Hayes, 27 years old. Just got him from Winnipeg this past year. And I think we all know where he slots in, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you don't know, you're not a Flyer fan. Second line center.
Yeah, and if you don't know, now you know. But yeah, we'll stop there. But,
Yeah, good thing this is the beginning of the podcast.
I would never. There's no way.
No, I know.
But, until Nolan Patrick shows that flash and just that ability to turn his game up, Kevin Hayes is going to be our 2C. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're paying him like a 2C, so why not slot him in there?
I mean, it would almost hurt me to have him be 3C this year.
Ooh.
Do you think there's a point where if Nolan Patrick starts producing in the way that people want him to, right, or people are expecting, do you think that they'll switch them? Or do you think that Kevin Hayes would really have to crap the bed in order to kind of switch roles?
I think of it this way. It's really hard given the term of Hayes' contract. But Nolan Patrick is essentially slated to take over for that role eventually. And when it happens, it's got to be convincing. And it's got to be consistent as well. I'd like to see maybe 1.5 to 2 years of Nolan Patrick consistently outproducing Hayes, which is going to be tough to do when you're getting less minutes than Hayes, but not impossible.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we've talked before, like there's nothing wrong with having 3 lines that have similar the amount of minutes. I mean, if they end up producing well, you can just give them more minutes and maybe take a little bit away from that second line.
And if Patrick can start really killing it on that third line, essentially you've got a top line, and then you've got a 2A and 2B. It's not a 2-3 type deal. It's a 2A, 2B, and it's better, honestly.
For sure. So, I mean, as far as special teams, I did a little research, because that's what you do sometimes for these things, and he could play power play and PK. I look at him more as like your second power play unit type guy, but he could be like your first unit PK.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the main attractions that Fletcher was looking at, because we all know how bad the Flyers' power play was. They were 26th in the league this past year, dead last at some points. But putting him on the second power play unit, I think would be great. I think it would add some star power, add some firepower as well. And then PK, really at this point, anything could help. I mean, without trying to sound like too much of a downer, but
Oh no, I mean, yeah, seriously.
just start throwing it until it sticks, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think that he's a great option there. I mean, I think he's a real improvement to, what we've had. And that's like not including having to put a Claude Giroux on the PK,
Yeah, it definitely helps ease that where we won't have to use up Giroux and, pile on the minutes with a guy like him because he is getting up there in age, but, saving him and keeping him fresh, I think, is more beneficial. I think Hayes will be able to take it much better than Giroux would.
For sure.
Yeah. So, anything else to say about Hayes, man?
No, I just hope he has a good year.
Oh, you and me both. I mean, that's $7.14 million is a lot to pay for a potential third-line center.
Yeah.
But moving on down the list here, the next guy we want to touch on is JVR, brought in last year, 29 years old, and had his season cut short a bit at the beginning, had a little bit of an injury, only played 66 games, but in those 66 games he put up 48 points, 27 of those being goals, which is good pace. I mean, that's about a 60 to 70 point pace right there.
For sure. I'm super excited for JVR this year. If he can stay healthy, I think he could just blow up. With this second line, I'm saying we'll put him on the second line, but you have a great passer like Voracek, not awesome, but a good center in Hayes. I think that this is really setting up for a great year for JVR.
Oh, for sure. And I know they flirted with the idea of him on the third line a little bit last year, which is even, I shouldn't say better, but like you spread that down to the third line and have that kind of presence with a guy like Patrick, that could help them both.
Sure.
But I think
is that where you're putting him?
No, I'm going to put him on line two.
Okay.
Yeah, he's too good to put down on the third line. And you look at his point total, 48 out of 66 games, like I said. And then on the power play, JVR had 8 of his goals on the power play, 5 assists, 13 points. This is the guy you park in front of the net. This is the guy that takes the place of Wayne Simmons,
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, in JVR, he scores goals. Like, that's what he does. When you look at his point totals, it's mostly goals.
And his dirty goals, too. The ones right in front of the net, scooping up the rebounds that they give up and just slamming them home.
Yeah, and you need somebody like that.
Yeah, the Flyers, they've been lucky where they've had guys like Hartnell in the past. They've had Simmons that can do that. Now that Simmons is gone, Hartnell obviously been gone for a while. JVR is that next guy to do that. And Hartnell had huge success doing that. He had a 30-goal season, one of his last seasons with the Flyers.
Yeah. So, I mean, power play, we've already said he should probably be on that first unit, right?
Yeah, I think he's kind of that fourth forward that you could park in front of a goalie and just kind of let him do his thing and, redirect, scoop up rebounds, jam him home.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And, I mean, PK, he doesn't need to be there.
Nah, I think unless, the need's very dire, but I just don't see him as a big penalty killer,
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So, I guess without anything else being said, moving on to our guy, Sean Couturier. This guy, past 2 seasons, man, this is what we wanted. This is exactly what we wanted from him.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I wish he'd get a little national recognition. That'd be nice.
Yeah, Selke would be nice too. Hint, hint. But, anyways, I digress. 76 points, 80 games this past year, 33 goals. He led the team in goals. His offensive game is really starting to round out, and it's becoming consistent, which is exactly what the Flyers wanted when they drafted him. We all knew he was great on defense. Everybody knew that from the moment he shut down the top line of the Penguins in the playoff series. Now the other side of his game is starting to round out. So, I mean, he even on the power play, 17 of those points came on the power play. Couturier's our 1C. Hands down.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no debate.
No, there's no debate at all. The thing is, with me, is do you put him on the PK?
I like him on the PK because, 1, he's young. His body doesn't have the wear and tear on it. 2, he's lanky. So, I mean, he can get his stick in the lane, and he can break up plays, disrupt passing and get all that, and chip it away. He's good along the boards.
Yep.
I like him on PK, you know, but that's not to say that there's, I guess, better options to try to keep him fresh.
Well, you see, yeah, the thing is I don't really know if there's a better option. I think that he's one of the best options on the PK because he's very sound defensively. My whole thing is I kind of have a pet peeve where I don't like your top line guys to be on the PK, especially when they're also on the power play. I just feel like, that's asking a lot of him. So if there are other options that work, I wouldn't mind him not being involved.
Yeah, that's very true. Anything to try to keep those guys fresh because your top line guys are going to be the ones that you depend on the most.
Right.
So, you want to make sure that they're fresh when they need to be fresh and when they're called on, they're ready to roll. I still, man, it's tough because I really do think he'd be a great PK guy, and to keep him on there might benefit the Flyers more than not having him on there, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's just one of those weird things where I'm like, well, if we're gonna reduce his minutes somewhere, right, that would be it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it stinks, like say they go the first 10 games without him and it stinks, like go ahead, put him on. But I just think for now, maybe not messing with it,
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
But yeah, I think, like you said, power play 1 for sure. I see him quarterbacking that, being the center for the power play. And PK, it's not going to break my heart if they don't put him on the PK unit, but it's also not going to, tick me off if they do,
Right. And with him, right, I mean, you can't really ask any more of him. We said with Giroux was there anything you expect from him or you want to see from him that you didn't see last year? I really can't think of anything with Couturier.
No, I mean, he averaged even more ice time than Giroux did this past year.
Yeah.
So he's that guy's a Swiss Army knife.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess moving on from Couturier, we've got newcomer Tyler Pitlick, who they acquired from Dallas in exchange for Hartman. Pitlick's been bit by the injury bug a few too many times, and just there's not much to really say about him, honestly.
No, I mean, fourth line winger.
Yeah, fourth line winger. I don't see he had 1 goal on the power play. That's
yeah. Question for you. When I was researching him, they said center. Is that his normal position? Is center?
I don't know. I'm not really familiar. I know when we were doing, I guess I'll date back to like doing draft coverage, I saw a lot of people flip-flopping, positions and all that. And I'm like,
right.
It's interesting because, right now I'm looking here, Hockey Reference has him as a right shot center.
Yeah. But it's like you could go to Hockey DB and they might say he's a winger. Like, it's so confusing.
You're right. I mean, right now, let's see here. I'm going to pull up NHL.com. NHL.com has him as a center. That's
okay.
In line with Hockey Reference. Elite Prospects here. That's pulling up. They've got him as a center/right winger. So,
see, I like when they do that. When they do the draft guys, typically that's kind of what they do.
Yes. I like that too. Because it says like he is a center, but like he's capable of playing the wing because I'm sure he played wing somewhere else on the line. ESPN has him as a right winger, just right winger.
But ESPN doesn't know what the hell they're talking about.
ESPN doesn't know dick about hockey. I shouldn't have said the D word there, whatever.
All right. That's your one.
Yeah.
That's your one.
That's my one for the night.
But, I mean, he's not going to be a center on this team. He's going to be a winger on the fourth line. I heard somebody say, was it you? Or maybe we were on the other podcast, the Flyers Face Off. Maybe it was Kevin mentioned him as like possibly being on the third line. Nope.
I think it was me.
Okay.
Only because a friend of mine who's seen him play, he lives up in Edmonton. He said that if he's not injured, he can contribute solid minutes, and he seems, I guess, and this is all just from him, but like there's better options on the team right now for the Flyers. So fourth line, I think, would suit him well because we should have a really good fourth line still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and in the research that I did, it seems like he has some experience in the penalty kill. So, I mean, he could be an option.
Yeah, and like I said before, penalty kill, it's not working right now. So just start throwing
Right.
stuff, and if something sticks, use it.
Right. I mean, you might as well try all the new people.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth a shot.
Right.
Yeah, so moving on from Pitlick, we've got him slated for the fourth line here. We've got Nolan Patrick, and
Yep.
we all know where he's going to be in the normal lineup. We've got him, obviously, John, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Third line center.
Yeah. Power play, he was the center last year for the second power play unit for a little bit. Played on that. I believe he played most of this season on the second unit.
Yeah, but who else was an option? I think that Hayes will probably take it over him.
Yeah, I do too. And let's be honest, the second power play unit last year was garbage. It was bad.
Right.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could see him on the power play. Stats don't pop out at you. He had 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist. Ice time 15, just over 15 minutes a night. 31 points, 72 games. Yeah, it'll come with time. He's still young.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you on everything. I don't need to see him on the power play. I don't need to see him on the PK. I need to see a jump from him this year. I mean, year 1, 30 points. Year 2, 31. You know what, man? You were the second overall pick. I understand it takes some people some time, but there's got to be a jump here. It can't be, 1 point more. It can't be a slow start. He's got to start producing.
And I think keeping him off of any power play or penalty kill unit might help that, because then it's not the extra added stress of, oh man, I got to worry about killing these penalties because we know the Flyers are going to commit penalties. It happens all the time. And power play too, when they're on the power play, it's like that's an extra burden added to him. And at a young age, it's tough to adjust sometimes for some players. So I think letting him round his game out on that third line center role would be, I guess, ideal, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the third line's the best place for him because it's less pressure. There's pressure on him. I mean, everybody's watching him, hoping that he succeeds, But I do think that putting him on the third line, you're going against lesser competition, I guess. I mean, that's not really true all the time, but
the idea sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's lesser competition than if you're on the second line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just have to see a big jump from him this year.
Yeah, and I think the jump's going to come. Whether it's this year or next, I think he's getting there.
Right.
A lot of pressure has been put on him,
My worry, and we haven't really gone into the third line yet, and we will a little more later, is he going to have that support on the third line?
That is a good point.
I mean, that's why almost putting a guy like JVR on the third line would make some sense. I don't think it's what you do to start the year, but is he going to have the support necessary on the third line to succeed? I mean, it's going to be a young line.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with that being said, we'll move on to the next guy here. Michael Raffl, just re-upped with the Flyers. Great cap hit, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
And for what they're getting, I think that he'll be one of the cogs on that fourth line that's going to round it out and make it a really good fourth line.
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
What do you think? Power play, penalty kill?
Penalty. We don't need him on the power play.
No, we have enough.
Yeah, I mean, he could do some time on the penalty kill. He did last year.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like what you hope from a bottom line guy.
Yeah, those grinders that are going to soak up those minutes, that are going to be able to, get the pucks out of the dirty areas and clear them down the ice. That's what you want from guys like that.
For sure.
Yeah, so the next guy we've got is Oscar Lindblom. And
yep.
If I may jump to a conclusion here, he's going to be another one of those third line guys that we were just talking about, correct?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Lindblom is showing some progression, which is great. I think that he could be at some point a pretty good second line guy, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm okay with him being a third line guy.
Yeah, there's no need to rush it when you've got guys like JVR, Voracek, and Giroux and Couturier and Hayes all up there.
Right.
You know, you've got the luxury of letting him sit down there, kind of own his game, and let him stew a little bit on that third line.
Yeah, but again, then we're pairing him with Nolan Patrick.
Yeah.
And I mean, without, spoiling anything for later on, and most likely a rookie.
Yeah. It's a little worrisome.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've got great potential, but remember when we were all sitting there at the beginning of last year and just basing all of our predictions off potential, how well that's, played out for everybody. So I want to put him on the third line now, but like if it's not working, I think he's one of those guys that's going to be moved at some point. I think him and JVR will probably swap.
Yeah, I think that's the logical move to be made because, one, it adds some experience to that third line, some guy that can help out Nolan Patrick and whoever his other line mate could be.
Yep.
It just kind of helps guide him, and, he's kind of that voice on that line, that veteran presence, the all-coveted veteran presence that every Flyers fan just loves to hate. But yeah, so as far as Lindblom, he was on the power play last year as well a little bit, put up 3 points, which, 10% of his points that he scored all year. But, like, second line power play maybe, you think?
Maybe. I mean, if you're really looking for somebody.
I think seeing some of his play at the World Juniors, the World Cup of Hockey, not World Cup of Hockey. I'm wrong here.
I know what you mean.
The big tournament, between international tournament, IIHF.
Yep, that thing.
Yeah, the IIHF. He actually played really well for Sweden and showed that in front of the net, man, he's good. He's pretty good. I'd like to see him assume that second line for the power play, same type of role that JVR would have on the first unit.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, I think he's more than capable. I just hope he gets the minutes to prove it.
For sure.
Yeah, so we'll see. Penalty kill, do you think he's a guy you can put on there and trust?
I do think he's somebody. I mean, he spent a lot of time on there last year,
That's
if
true.
I'm correct.
I believe so, yeah.
But also, the PK stunk last year. So maybe he's somebody you put on there to start. If it's not working, you take him off. But I could see him spending some time on there for sure.
Yeah. There definitely is a glaring hole there now that Yuri Laterra's gone from the penalty kill. So someone's going to have to fill it, which maybe it's Lindblom.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh, boy.
Moving on from Lindblom here. We've got our remaining...
We've got the undecideds.
Yes, the two remaining RFAs that have yet to sign. We have number one.
The
we'll
forward
go with
class.
of the forward class. Yes, Scott Lawton. Which where does he factor in, man?
Fourth line center. Great
Agreed.
Fourth line center.
Yes.
I really hope the arbitration works out in the Flyers' favor because he needs to be our fourth line center.
Yeah, he still has some time to sign a contract before arbitration starts, though.
Okay.
I don't know how negotiations are going, so I can't tell you what's happening, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think arbitration will reward him? I mean, he can't get more than like 2.5, right?
I wouldn't even go that far. If he gets anything over 2, it'll be, like I'm not going to be thrilled because that's money we could be throwing at Provorov right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but PK guy too. No power play.
For sure. Yeah, no power play. He put up no points last year on the power play. I don't see a reason to use him with the people we have ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is too, it's like he's feisty. Like you put him on the fourth line, it allows him to remain feisty.
Oh yeah, like he's a grinder. He's the grinder of that team.
Yeah.
And a guy like that centering the fourth line is a great role for him.
For sure.
Yeah. And then we move on to our second RFA of the forwards here.
Yeah.
Travis Konechny.
Travis Konechny. Well, he's my first line winger.
And you and I are in agreement there.
Yeah, I mean, I love him, Giroux, and Couturier on the line.
It works. I mean, Konechny had most of, if not all of, his success on that first line, and rightfully so. When you're playing next to guys like Couturier and Giroux, who are two of the best, at what they do, you're going to experience some level of success up there.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, and he'll play the power play.
Yep.
I mean, is he more of a second unit?
I think he's a second unit guy with the capability of bumping up to that first line. I think you keep him on the second line because you keep him on the second unit so that if he's going to play first line minutes, he's fresh for that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And it spaces out some production.
PK?
I don't know. I'm not very familiar with whether he was on the PK much last year or not, but he's quick. He's fast. I think that's a good trait to have on the penalty kill, but I think there might be better options out there.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Hey.
Yeah,
Right.
so I was a little distracted here. My wife just texted me, and she says to me that an ex-Flyer is liking our posts on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so...
Do we know?
Sorry, folks, we're having a moment here. She says to me, Dominic Roussel.
Dominic Roussel.
She goes, no idea who he was, had to look him up.
It's an obscure name. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to look him up too, but still pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks, Dom. We appreciate that, if we can call you Dom.
Right. If you want to come on the podcast, just DM us.
Yeah, you know where to find us.
Yeah, boy.
So right now, as it stands, going through the forwards that are on the list, we have the first line of Giroux, Couturier, Konechny. We have JVR, Kevin Hayes, and Jake Voracek on the second line.
Yep.
We have a fourth line of Michael Raffles, Scott Lawton, and Tyler Pitlick.
Yep.
The one hole we have is on the third line winger, and it is Lindblom, Patrick, and blank.
Player to be named later.
Yes. This is where we're going to sort this out because now we're going to move on to the prospects that are within the system.
Yep.
The prospects. We're going to touch on the guys we signed. There's 3 of them. We'll see if either of them fit, but spoiler alert, they won't.
And just to be clear too, Derek, these are the prospects that are going to be playing for Lehigh Valley if they don't make the team.
Yes.
There's no college guy forward wise that's going to be signed.
No kid from
no
juniors.
Russian, or I shouldn't have said Russian. It's just a European. So these are Lehigh Valley guys,
and these are the cream of the crop here. We're talking big name, the Hextall guys.
Yeah, boy.
So we're gonna start. I'll tell you what, John, you are our prospect guy, and you know a hell of a lot more about them than I do. This is your bread and butter, my man.
So should I just start with the person that's going to fill the third line role so you can disagree with me?
I mean, what better way to start?
Morgan Frost. I know you Farabee fans out there. I love Farabee. I'm sorry. Morgan Frost is bigger, and there's just something about his production in the OHL that just screams you have to put him on the third line. I mean, last year, 58 games. 37 goals, 72 assists. That's 109 points in 58 games. I don't care if he was playing against a bunch of 4-year-olds. That's a lot of points. I just think that he's the closest to NHL ready of those guys. So he's my third line winger.
To be fair, though, those 4-year-olds put up like 60, 70 points. And I'll tell you this, I'm easily swayed with this because obviously you are much more knowledgeable with prospects than I am. But you guys, I've said it before, you know who I'm picking. I got to stick with Farabee. I think in my limited knowledge, again, I think that the level of competition in college is a little heavier. It weighs heavier than the level of competition in the CHL, whether it be the OHL, WHL, QMJHL, etc. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but like it's not like a giant gap in level of competition. But
no, it's not.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to make it out to be that. I just think Farabee would be a great compliment because, one, I mean, he was freshman of the year in college this past year, 36 points, 37 games, and two, he's a natural winger, whereas Morgan Frost is a center. Are they going to have to probably flip Frost to the wing? I think so, because they're pretty deep down the middle at the NHL level.
And he played wing in Canada.
He did.
Well, for Canada.
Once again, John trying to flip my decision here.
Listen, if you don't mind if I cut you off for a second.
No, go for it.
One of the biggest things that I do when I'm kind of like assessing NHL readiness is sample size. You know, you cannot argue with what Farabee was able to accomplish his freshman year, but it was his freshman year. So I just have a little bit more of Frost to kind of base a decision off of than I do Farabee. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You know, you're going to base a decision off, it's like the Anthony Stolarz argument, you know? You're going to base a decision off of how many years Cam Talbot's been in the league versus Stolarz's, 12 games that he's played at the NHL level?
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, I think both of them will be really good options. I kind of give the advantage to Frost just because I have more of a sample size to look at as opposed to Farabee.
That's a great way to look at it, honestly. I think, like I said before, I like the fact that Farabee, I think it'll just transition easier for him because he's that natural winger and he's slotting into a wing position. Not that Frost couldn't do that. I'm not saying that by any means.
Right.
But one day both of these guys are going to be Flyers, and they're going to be, hopefully, immensely successful Flyers with the way their careers have been to this point.
Yeah.
I think Farabee just gets a jump start on Frost.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Now, aside from those two here, there's, I'd say, in my opinion, and I'm sure yours, there's two other options.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're both dark horses.
Yeah, I think at this point they are as well.
So, would you like me to go with one?
Yeah, this is your segment, man.
All right, so I'm going to go with Isaac Ratcliffe. Again, dark horse candidate, but you can't deny what this guy is able to do in the OHL, and his size is just phenomenal. It's crazy because typically players with his size don't match his game style. He's very much, deaky and, makes plays. He doesn't do that like power forward role. And he's 6'6". Like, if he can be a playmaker and a dynamic goal scorer with that frame, he's going to be close to unstoppable. But I do think that's down the road. I think he needs some seasoning in Lehigh Valley. I want to say possibly a midseason call-up, but you and me have talked about this before. It kind of depends on, what happens. I mean, injuries, if they happen, you might want to get somebody with a little bit more NHL experience. I think he would really have to kind of light the AHL on fire for him to be a midseason call-up, in my opinion.
He's totally capable of doing, in my opinion, as well. But yeah, I think mid-season you're looking at, if they're in the thick of the playoff race, you're looking to bring up guys that have been there. You're looking to bring up guys that know how to play at the NHL level, how to succeed at the NHL level, that have been there before. And there's a couple of those on the Phantoms, but I'm not saying it's right or wrong, just kind of the trends that we've seen. And the other guy, much to your point, Ratcliffe, I think would be a phenomenal option as well. But the other guy here, we'll go back to sample size, doesn't have much of a track record to go off of, at least at the pro level. Yerman Rubtsov, he's played, I think he played, 10 or 16?
14 games.
My apologies.
I only know that as well as I do because I keep bringing up that point to people who just want to crown him an NHL player. It's like, Yeah, he did good. Did well. Jesus, I got to
Do
learn
good.
to stop. Do good. That's just my thing now. He had 10 points in 14 games.
Good, but
But,
yeah.
and he was, again, we've said it before too with this guy. He was somebody where people were ready to give up on him. He didn't have the CHL career that everyone was hoping for.
You're right. He kind of floundered because he hasn't found his offensive game, much like, or I shouldn't say junior level Couturier tore it up offensively, but like pro level, we were waiting on that side of it to round out.
Yep.
Much the same, and with 10 games or 14 games of experience, 10 points, good sign that he put up 10 points in 14 games, but needs to happen at a larger scale. More games, more points. Show it to us.
Yeah. So if we were going to rank these four that we just talked about, Frost, Farabee, Ratcliffe, and German Rubstov. Is it Yerman or German?
I say Yerman just because it sounds fancier.
Oh, okay, because I say German because I hate fancy things.
Contrasting styles of John Gove and Derek Bob.
But if we were to rank them as far as the player to take that third wing spot, how would you rank them?
I would put Farabee and Frost at 1 and 2. It's a very close 1 and 2.
Yep.
And then I would probably put Rubtsov third, just because I know, and I understand where you're coming from here, and I know where you're going to go with it. Ratcliffe just, he's coming out of the OHL, and so seeing a little more out of him at a pro level, at a higher level of play, I think would make my decision a lot harder. But Rubtsov at least has somewhat of a sample size, I guess, at the pro level.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool because we disagree, because I'm going to have Frost and Farabee. Again, close. Then I'm going to have Ratcliffe and then Rubtsov. I think Rubtsov spends the whole year in the AHL. I don't think he's going to be a midseason call-up. I think that management is looking at this as, well, the same way I am. Yeah, he played well, but he played well for 14 games. We need to see this consistently in the AHL before we go and bring him up. So, again, unless he lights the AHL on fire, which he could, but remember, he's coming off of an injury that took him out the rest of the season after 14 games. He's going to just stay down there.
Yeah, and I think Rubtsov could definitely benefit from some more time down there in the AHL. A lot of people have said it. I've seen it everywhere on Twitter. What's it going to hurt? Because if there's not a spot ready for him at the NHL level, the AHL is where he's got to stay and where he's got to refine his game.
For sure.
Yeah. I guess if we're going to move on, I mean, do you want to go in depth with some of these guys?
Well, yeah, let's just, I think there's one more that kind of fits that, like, could he make the NHL roster? And then we'll just kind of quickly go through the rest of them as far as, like, well, could there be a chance of midseason call-up? That kind of junk.
Yeah.
So, Abe Kubel.
Yes.
To me, if Pitlick somehow makes the third line wing, Abe Kubel becomes your fourth line winger, because I don't think somebody like Frost or Farabee or Ratcliffe or Rubtsov, for that matter, should be placed on your fourth line.
No, their skill set would be wasted in a fourth line role.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely. He's played in the NHL before. He knows the pace. He knows how it is. He, I think, would be our best option, short of maybe a Vorobiev, but Vorobiev didn't impress me at all when he was up with the club last year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could move right to him. I don't even want to give him a chance. I'm ready to move past him.
Yeah.
I mean, some people were like ready to make him NHL ready way before he was, but there's just too many better options as far as prospects, where he's just going to be in the AHL until he's not a part of the team anymore.
Yeah, and it sucks because, everybody had such high expectations for him coming into the season last year, but he crapped the bed, and it sucks, but that's how hockey is. Some people work, some people don't.
Yeah. Next guy for me is an interesting one because when he was drafted, I was really high on him. Pascal Laberge.
It's not Labarge.
That's not Labarge. Labarge.
Labarge.
I mean, he's suffered so many injuries.
Yeah. That
Towards the end of last season, he was finally able to play some games. He looked pretty good, but he's not going to be making the NHL roster, even as a midseason call-up. He's got to spend a season healthy in the AHL before we even talk about him possibly making the Flyers.
Absolutely. You got to see him succeed at that level to be able to say, hey, he might be able to succeed at that next level.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and the rest of these guys, let's just kind of run through them quick. Yeah. Carson Twarynski. He's going to be another AHL guy. He's somebody, too, though, who has a great shot where, like, he could really just light the AHL on fire as far as goals if he ever just puts it all together.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, 24 points in 69 games, 10 goals, 14 assists, nothing that really screams, oh my God, I'm going to be great. But the potential's there. He's going to surprise some people, I think.
Right. I think he's one of those guys, too. Like, the more coaching he gets, the more advice he gets, the more guidance he gets, the better he'll become. So he's somebody where, no, he won't make the NHL this year. I wouldn't even count on him making the NHL next year.
Yeah.
But really, down the road, he could turn into someone.
Yeah, and I see this guy as being one of those types of guys that, like, once he starts becoming successful, like, that success is going to infect everybody else, and people are going to, like, really, like, just kind of leech on that, and he's going to make people around him better. Like, it's infectious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So the next guy, Maxim Sishko, just to make it quick, he had an underwhelming year last year. This is kind of a prove-it-to-me year as far as being on the AHL. We need to see some progress. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything to say about him?
No, I mean, impressive in the OHL, but, being impressive there as opposed to Lehigh Valley, two different things,
Yep. Matthew Strome, somebody I think will contest for a roster spot next year, not this coming year, but the next season. I really look for him to take on a huge role with Lehigh Valley. I'm a big fan of this guy. We all know this at this point. I talk him up a few times. I don't think his skating's an issue anymore. Yeah, I mean, I think he's still a year away, but I expect big things from him this year in Lehigh Valley.
I can't get past the skating. I'm kidding.
Okay.
I knew that was going to tick you off.
Oh, boy.
Next guy.
David Kasha. Kind of a wild card. I mean, he had a pretty good year last year. He's another guy. I mean, he's going to spend time in Lehigh Valley. I couldn't see him making the team. And the same thing goes for the next guy, unless you have something to say about Kasha, do you?
No, I think, with him and the next guy you're going to mention, they're AHL guys and successful, definitely good AHL guys.
Right. I mean, the last guy, Connor Bunneman, it was exciting to see him succeed last year in the AHL the way he did. He is still nowhere near NHL ready, and his success in the AHL, although it was nice to see, it wasn't as big as some people made it to be. I mean, he fell very much into that average category when you looked at people in his age rank and the amount of goals or points he was producing. So he's still a while away too.
Yeah, I agree. So that's really all the prospects in the system at this point.
Yeah.
I think.
So you're going to move on to recent signings, or
we're going to move on to some recent signings. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to take this one since you took the prospects. So there's really only three guys. There is only three guys, I should say. You've got Curtis Gabriel, who they signed away from Binghamton, a.k.a. New Jersey, the Devils. Curtis Gabriel is also the individual that boarded Nolan Patrick last year. So right off the bat, he's starting off on the wrong foot, for me at least. I don't like the guy. He only had 4 points in the NHL last year, only had 6 points in the AHL last year as well, split time between the two leagues. don't expect to see him in the NHL unless it's like a drastic measure that needs to be taken. Next guy, Kyle Criscuolo, they signed. He had 43 games last year, 20 points in the Sabres system, if I'm not mistaken. He's a hometown boy, so it's nice to see him come home, but at the NHL level, I don't think he's going to make an impact.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it's really just, it's a depth signing for the AHL to kind of bolster their lineup.
Yep. Yeah. Keep going, man. You're on a roll.
All right. Well, I'm going to finish things off with Andy Andrioff. Guy played with the Syracuse Crunch, the Tampa Bay Lightning's AHL affiliate. 75 games, 55 points, 26 goals, 29 assists. He hasn't impressed at all at the NHL level, and he only played at the NHL level with the Kings. Obviously not with Tampa, because Tampa is such a deep team.
For sure.
But, 55 points in 75 games is pretty good. I think they brought this guy in because they said, hey, if we need to bring him up, we can do so, because he's considered a veteran. And, if he needs to pitch in on a fourth line basis, hey, so be it. There's much worse options out there.
Well, and I think that part of the reason they signed him, too, is because they're not really sure if Pitlick's going to stay healthy. And I think that if he can't stay healthy, then he's a good fourth-line option.
Yeah, he's a contingency plan. I think they have a couple of those in the system at this point.
For sure.
A guy like Pitlick doesn't turn out. But that's really it for the prospects for the guys that they just signed, that they brought into the AHL level. Interesting fact, too, though, if you look online, Curtis Gabriel is listed on the NHL roster, the Flyers roster.
Is it because he has a one-way contract?
I believe so. But with that as well, I wanted to real quick to touch on the waiver situation. 12 days prior to the first day of the season is when waivers take effect. So that means any time before that, they can send him up, send him down, without any kind of implications having to put him on waivers and susceptible to being claimed by another team. I mean, everybody that plays NHL knows this rule, because that notification pops up on your screen, and send this guy down before he's susceptible to waivers. And I'm like, if I'm sending him down, I don't really need him anyway, so...
Right.
But that's kind of how waivers works. Overall, what do you like about these guys, like the options that we have moving forward here?
So, a couple points. I think we have a really strong top six. I mean, I think if you have Couturier, Giroux, and Konechny on one line, and then you have Hayes, JVR, and Voracek on the other line, that's a really good NHL top six to me.
Oh, for sure. I really like the top six as well.
Yeah, I also think we have a pretty solid fourth line. It's not as solid as having Hartman there, only because I know what Hartman brought to the table. I'm not going to pretend I know anything about Pitlick, because I don't.
Yeah. I pretend like I know something about him, but really it's just hearsay and what guys see from him.
Yeah. I also think that on paper we have a great set of power play forwards. I think it gets a little questionable in that second unit, but it's just trying to find people to fit that role, and I think we have some pretty good options. Do you agree with me on that?
I absolutely agree. I think the options are there. I think that once we've kind of ironed things out, the first couple games we'll get a feel for it. There's some definite great options that we have moving forward with the power play there.
Yep. And I also think the same is with the PK. I think as far as forwards, we've got some pretty good options. There are some that I'd rather not use, whether it be Couturier or Giroux, but there are options there.
Yeah. Anything's better than Laterra at this point.
Yeah.
With things that we like about this, there's a few things I wanted to touch on. Something minor. I like Gabriel signing just because it adds a little bit of snarl. People will say, like, oh, there's no need for a goon. Like, I don't think Gabriel's necessarily a goon, but, like, it's not a guy you're going to, push around when it comes to scrums and stuff like that. Andrioff signing makes up for losing a guy like Phil Varone. Varone's on Montreal now. He signed a contract.
Yep.
So that'll replace that a bit, I guess, for Lehigh Valley at least. And the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the fact that it seems, at least on the surface, that Fletcher left open that third line forward spot for a prospect to go out and take during camp, which I love.
Yeah, well, obviously I do.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's great. I mean, and another thing too is I feel like with this forward unit on the NHL, there's a great mix of like veterans and kids.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're because you want to still put like Konechny as a kid, and you have Patrick and Lindblom and whoever's going to take that third line wing spot, but you also still have a lot of people who have been around the block, you know?
Yeah, it's a good mix.
Yeah.
All right, so any concerns then, I guess, with any of these, with the prospects, anything like that?
I do have one concern.
Yeah?
I'm a little concerned about the center depth at the NHL level.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because if an injury happens, our only option is to move Giroux.
Is it our only option, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Because, like, think about it. If let's say Hayes gets hurt long term, right?
Okay.
And Nolan Patrick hasn't made any huge leaps. If you put him on the second line, who becomes your third line center?
Lawton.
Okay, who becomes your fourth line center?
You call up a guy. You call somebody up. I don't know.
And you're confident with that and making the playoffs?
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I were just to pick one thing, I think we could use just like one more definitely could play center in the NHL type player.
Well, what about Pitlick? Because Pitlick apparently is a center, according to some of these sites.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Like I said, I don't know crap about him.
Yeah, and that is all big ifs. We'll see. My main concern is with these prospects. It's no secret. Any prospect coming up could benefit from AHL time. We all know that.
Yeah.
I don't want another slow start or slow build. We saw what happened with Vorobiev last year, where he got called up and was starting the season, and then he kind of, pooped the bed, didn't play well.
Right.
And then, even with Couturier, like, it took a while for him to find his footing with the offense. Not nearly to the extent with Vorobiev, but I want them to be put into a position where they can succeed, and I think third line's a good spot to start them.
Yeah.
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 So then, yes or no, we'll move on to this. Are you satisfied with the way the roster looks right now?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I know everybody wants to say that the division is getting better, but I don't think that the Rangers are quite there yet. I don't really know how much progress the Islanders have made. I mean, the only new threat I really see is the Devils.
Yeah.
And I think Columbus has gotten worse.
Yes.
Pittsburgh is a flyer. Like, you don't really know. That sounded funny, didn't it?
Pittsburgh will never be a flyer. They can't live up to that.
I mean, like, Carolina, are they going to be the same thing they were last year? You don't know. I mean, so I think I'm satisfied because I do believe we are a playoff team in this division.
Yeah, I agree. I think they can be as well. The only reason I'm going to say that I'm not satisfied, and it's kind of by default, Lawton and Konechny aren't signed yet. They've got their tenders,
okay,
but they're not signed yet. So if they do sign, yes, I'm content. I'm satisfied. I love the spot that's open for a prospect, and I love the fact that, barring any injuries, we're pretty solid down the middle with Kevin Hayes being added to the roster.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so now we move on to our second favorite, if you count Twitter questions, segment of the podcast.
What the
This is our Wait What segment, which we've explained many times before. It is, we're taking a story, a tweet, something that's been said, and it's one of those things you look at and you say, wait, what? Like, you just can't believe someone would have said that. So this week, John, you've got a good one here. I think we should start with you for this.
All right, it has nothing to do with sports. And you have to do me a favor, Derek. If I start getting too fumed about this, please cut me off. Yes. So I don't even know if this is what this is called, but this stupid ice cream challenge thing where morons go to a grocery store, go into the freezer section, grab some ice cream, open it up, lick it, or grab a handful of it, shove it in their mouth, and put it back. It goes way past wait what. People want to talk about what the heck is wrong with this world right now. It's that morons think that this is okay. I mean, listen, we've all done stupid things when we were kids, teenagers, college kids. I mean, I could probably spend a 4-hour podcast just talking about all the dumb crap I did from the age of 15 to 25. Well, I've never done anything like this. I mean, it's disgusting. Think about it. Now your grandma's going to go grab some ice cream from a grocery store, and there's a chance it's some jackass licked it. It's disgusting. I think all of these people should be caught and just punched in the nose.
The person that apparently started this, there's a warrant out for her arrest for a second-degree felony for food tampering.
Well, I hope that a female cop lifts her up and punches her in the nose. It's disgusting.
It is. It's gross.
Listen, I mean, again, we've all done dumb things, so I'm trying to think of like things that we used to do to mess with people, like on that level, like toilet paper somebody's house.
Yeah, something essentially harmless.
Right. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. Mine for the week, which I said, wait, what? Like, as in kind of disbelief that like it's happening, folks. Coach's corner. Don Cherry's contract's not being renewed. Now, people are going to say, oh, that sucks. Like, Don Cherry's such a staple in the hockey community. Don Cherry sucks. I'm sorry. Like, the suits, like, okay, cool, man. That's probably what's really keeping you relevant at this point. But, like, these bunch of jerks in Carolina, it's not good for the game. And just his old man yelling at the cloud mentality. It's ridiculous. It's time to move on from jagoffs like this guy and really usher in a new era. And what better way to usher in a new era, Rogers, than to hire two people such as John and myself.
Oh, yeah, boy.
Who are great at discussing hockey and have very good...
We could be colorful.
Absolutely. I've got my fair share of interesting shirts that I can pair with a suit as well. You know, we can make this kind of a seamless transition, aside from the whole hockey mentality where, you know how Don Cherry is.
Listen, Rogers, how about this? You bring us on. Once a month, I will do a Don Cherry impersonation. So, he's still there, but you're not paying him Don Cherry money.
You're getting the cheap Don Cherry.
Oh, for sure. You're getting the John Cherry.
The John Cherry. I'm dying right now. I have to hold it together. We got to keep going because we're running so late right now. But
so Rogers, get at us. DM us. We'll talk to you soon.
If you don't change your Twitter to John Cherry right now, I'm going to be so upset. So, folks, that's our Wait What segment. Now we're rolling into the final part of the show. We're going to talk about some questions that you folks sent us. We've got some pretty good ones this week. Not, quantity-wise, we had a lot last week, but we don't have as much. We're still going to go through these quick. First question comes from Robert N. Wilson III. He's got a few here. First question, why can't we trade Haig?
Because nobody wants him.
And because he sucks. Next question. So, J.S. Berube is a third or fourth on the Flyers goalie depth chart.
Third, because I guess he can play some NHL stuff. I don't know. That whole thing still puzzles me.
Yeah, I'm still confused by it too. I'd say he's third just because by default I don't want to see
He's
Lyon.
better than Lyon. Yep.
Yeah. Question number 3, final question. What year are we facing the inevitable NHL lockout? And then he puts in parentheses, every time the Flyers just start to get good, we have a lockout. Well, the Flyers haven't really started to get good yet, but the lockout's impending, I guess, within the next year or so. Again, yay.
Yeah, what I've heard, though, is that talks are pretty good, though, at this point.
They are?
What I've heard.
Good.
That's what I've heard. I was listening to Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts podcast thing, and he was saying that it's better than some people think.
Yeah.
So
I actually was out underwater basket weaving with Vino, and he said he was in on one of those meetings and said that things are going pretty well as well.
Stepping on my game, dude. I don't like it.
It's not my fault you weren't available that night.
First of all, I'm going to call BS because I'm the only person you call to go underwater basket weaving with. You don't know what you're doing down there.
You're right. I've never underwater basket wove in my life. So, next question comes from #CowboyJerry. Jerry's asked this question before as well. Do you believe TK will become a 30-goal scorer this year with the depth, or we'll go into the next question later. Do you believe Konechny will be a 30-goal scorer this year, John?
Yes. Yeah, sure.
I do too.
There you go.
Put him on the top line.
Yeah.
He's putting up 30 goals.
Yeah, I like it.
Next
I love it. I want some more of it.
Eating good in the neighborhood. That's the Applebee's commercial, right?
No. I was singing, what, I think it was Tim McGraw? Is that who sings that songs?
Yeah, but like Applebee's redid it where like they said at the very end like, their old slogan.
Applebee's sucks.
Man,
Applebee's
you never get drunk? You ever get kicked out of an Applebee's?
Yeah, dude, that was the only restaurant we had in college.
Ricky Bobby.
Like that. Yeah, we used to go there in college all the time, and when you'd order a steak or a burger, they'd go pink or no pink.
Always the pink.
And I would just go, I hardly know you. Could you at least buy me a drink?
That rhymes too. You're so corny. God. Oh, you suck.
But anyway, what was his other question?
Anyways, other question, he goes, with depth at goaltending, who do you believe is closer to NHL ready? Sandstrom or Urson?
Sandstrom, just because of experience and age.
Yeah, and he's over in the AHL right now, whereas Urson's still playing in the Swedish Hockey League.
Yep.
Yeah, so next one comes from Dave Kaufman. He asks, what do you think Lawton will sign for? We kind of touched on this earlier, too.
Yeah, $2 million.
1.5 to 2. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that answers Dave's question here. Dave Kaufman. I think I said his name. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems reasonable. 1.5 to 2.
Yep.
Yeah. So next question comes from our buddy Matthias.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our one international listener. Which
love it.
I'm coming to find out there's a few other people that don't live in North America, at least, that follow us on Twitter, at least. Hopefully they're listening, but
right.
We'll see. So Matthias goes, any word/rumor on why not Linus Hogberg, David Bernhardt, or Wyatt Wiley have signed their ELC? He says he was hoping at least one, if not all, were in Lehigh Valley, but then free agency period began, and, well, we all know the rest.
Yep. Do you want me to take the reins on this one?
You're the prospect guy, my man. Go for it.
So I don't know much about Hogberg and Bernhardt, but I'm assuming they're just going to stay over in Europe. I do know a little bit about Wyatt Wiley. A source told me, a pretty reliable source, actually probably the only reliable source I have, told me that he was staying to train in the Philadelphia area with the team over the summer, and they were kind of hoping that with that and his conversation with Chuck after developmental camp, he would end up having a contract. The one wrinkle in this, and this source kind of relayed this to me, was that all of those signings that they just had, all those defensemen. So I think he should be the one that signed to an ELC. I mean, everybody at this point knows I'm a big Wyatt Wiley fan. But I don't know. It seems like they've got their eye on him, but those signings, it doesn't look too promising.
And some of them are 1-year deals, defenseman wise at least. So it could be good timing that maybe next year he signs his ELC and joins the Phantoms.
Well, he has to at that point.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because everything I've heard, especially from you, I mean, Wiley is a great prospect that we've got in the system, and we've got him in the 7th round. So I would love to see him break the club. So then moving on from that, we've got, I'll probably mispronounce this, but Keys Bay Knight. He asks us kind of 2 questions. One, how many games should Hart start this season, taking into account the 16 back-to-back games? So we'll start with that first.
Yeah.
You want to
You
take
take this one.
I'll take
No,
this.
you take it.
I'll take it. 16 back-to-back games. So 16 back-to-back games, that's tough. Like, the Flyers got screwed on this part of the schedule. He's going to start, if I'm going to take a guess here, he's going to start at least half the games of the year. At this point, Elliott, with his injury history, good Lord, it's the fact that he couldn't come back from the same injury. He just kept having problems with the rehabbing, da-da-da-da. I think that Hart, it's a little more on his shoulders, but if Elliott does stay healthy and has rehabbed fully from that injury, the core muscle, he'll be a phenomenal backup to Carter Hart, and it will take a little of the pressure off of him. But I say at least half the season, so 41 games I think he starts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go 45.
Okay. Nice, round number, the fives.
Yep.
And then point number 2, or question number 2, I should say, which prospect would you want to see take the third line wing spot? We have touched on this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Frost. You say. Then you say.
I say Farabee.
And there you go.
Yeah. Perfect.
So
that's it. So the next question then comes from Jay Powell. He asks, who of the likely affected will have to pass through waivers to be sent to Lehigh Valley to start the season? Lyon is one, right? I say yes. Lyon is one of the guys. Curtis Gabriel is probably another one. I really don't see Gabriel ending up on the NHL roster just because he's not, I hate to say it, he's not that good. But we got to remember, too, that with these with these preseason games, they play a lot of young guys, and you've got split squad games as well, where there's going to be a lot of people sent back down to the AHL, and it's going to be done before that 12-day period before the beginning of the season. So there's going to be a lot of people sent back down, but a lot of people are going to be up with the Flyers in the first case. So, you're going to see the roster take form really towards the end of the preseason.
You said it all, man. I agree with you.
Yeah, so then we've got 2 more questions, one of 2 here. Matthias, our friend again, he asks, by today's ranking in the 2020 draft, so John, this is yours, is there any player that sticks out in the region of pick number 17 to 31 or lower, or is there a player right now that you want them to target?
Matthias, first of all, I want to say hats off to you. I'm not the only person already looking into next year's draft. I love it. There are 3 names that kind of stand out to me. I think that they kind of come into that like 15 to 20 range right now. I mean, a lot can change, so this is like really premature. The first one for me is Connor McLennan. Sorry. He's a winger for the now Winnipeg Ice. Crappy team, as we know when we talked about Peyton Krebs.
Yes.
So his numbers weren't great with Winnipeg, but when he was playing in the U17 for Canada, he had 8 goals in 5 games. So it showed that when he was put with capable line mates, he was able to succeed. So he's one person that I'm interested in. Derek, do you have anything to say about this, or do you just want me to take this?
I don't. I think you need to take it because I have not even started looking at this draft.
All right. So the next guy is Hendrix Leperrier. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce his last name.
Is that Ian's son?
Is it? I don't know.
I'm just kidding. If he gets hit in the face by a puck, he's got at least 10 years worth of Flyer in him.
So he plays for Chicoutimi of the Chicoutimi, baby, QNJHL. So in his rookie season, he had a really good rookie season in all seriousness. He had 45 points in 48 games. So he's a center, but I know we don't really need centers at this point, but I think you could shift him to wing. So he's a name to keep an eye out for. And my last one is Jacob Perreault from the Sarnia Sting, also a center. He had 30 goals and 25 assists in his rookie season with 63 games. Pretty good rookie year. Again, center. He might be somebody you want to slot to wing. listen, these things are going to change a million times. These are three premature names, but there you go. Connor McClennan, Hendrix Leperrier, and Jacob Perreault.
So there you go, Matthias. Bang. I'm going to second what John just said there. The last question here we've got from Austin Provenzano. He asks, is there any chance that the Flyers try to get Gusev? He admits it's somewhat of a pipe dream, but could the Flyers make this kind of deal work?
You want to take it?
I could take this one. Let's
you start us off.
I'm going to start us off here. So, with the cap position in the way that it is in right now, it's unlikely that the Flyers will make any deal that brings on any type of cap. And Gusev, from what I've read and from what I understand, is going to command a contract probably close to maybe $3 to $4 million per year. Don't know the term, not privy to that kind of information. But with that kind of cap hit, if you don't sign a guy like Lawton or Konechny, even one or the other, maybe. But if all the cards fall the way they should, and we do retain Konechny, Lawton, Provorov, Gusev's just unrealistic at this point from a cap perspective. I'd love to have him. I think he could be a great forward moving forward. But, I really don't see it happening as much as I would love for it to actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said, I don't think it's going to happen. It would be cool, but it's not in the cards.
Yeah. So, folks, that has been our Q&A segment. That has been the meat of the segment as well, with the forwards touching on that, our wait what. That has been the Pod Street Bullies, and in case you didn't hear that, that's some thunder rolling my way right now. We're going to get into some storms. Thunder. Okay. So, before the thunderstorms inevitably cut off our power, we're going to sign off, folks. This has been another wonderful episode. We're going to get more in-depth coming up in the next few weeks where we talk about defense, goaltending. Then we're going to talk about all-time, who's our best defenders, forwards, such, and so on. But for now, John, please let the folks at home know where they can find you on Twitter, social media, etc.
So you can find me on Twitter at John P. Gove. You can find my work at Philly Sports Network. Also, please make sure that you're following the Pod Street Bullies Twitter and Instagram, because the Pod Street Bullies Twitter right now is blowing up.
Yeah, we are.
A lot of good stuff on there. I mean, more like just funny junk. But, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm Derek. You can find me at PuckBobPSN. You can find my work on Philadelphia Sports Network, the one place to go for all Philly sports. That's not really our slogan, but it matches what we put out there. Anyways, this has been the Pod Street Bullies, folks. Hopefully you can join us next week where we delve into some defense. Until then, have a wonderful rest of the week. And as always, let's go Flyers.
Bye now.